Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we're looking at the FX118 Katana. Real quick, super fast video. Just want to show you a super easy mod. Let's get our center of gravity lower. We're going to basically turn these into sliders. You can see I already kind of got one sitting here. I'm going to remove this battery tray. It's just two screws. Pop, pop, comes right out. Take our little rubber bands off. You can reuse them here. And then we're going to move our ESC and our receiver over here onto this side. We're just going to home make some trays. I flipped these screws over to help get us more clearance because the screws on the bottom here, they kind of hung a little low, the screw heads. So just to help clear that up, we move the screw heads to the top, put them in the screws to the top side. We have a full deep dive, full review on this guy over here if you want to check it out. And I mentioned doing this little mod, so I figured I would show it. But again, we just basically got some plastic. You can get plastic out of like packaged goods, just a clear plastic, or some Lexan or some styrene. We actually have a whole bunch of these top loaders because we're nerds and we played Magic the Gathering. Just a little insight for everybody. We got like 25 years of Magic the Gathering playing, plus sports cards and other stuff. So we got a bunch of these top loaders. They're kind of a thin plastic, but they're stiff-ish, right? So not super stiff, but also not thick, which means they're not too heavy. So that'll be perfect. We go ahead and cut them out with some scissors. And yeah, just make some little slider inserts and put the holes in them. And yeah, they're not stable if you needed them to be super stable by themselves. They're still pretty floppy, but they're thick enough that when we put our screws in there, it's going to give us a place to actually mount our ESC and receiver to with some double-sided sticky tape. So yeah, once the holes are in there, it's going to be plenty stiff, you can see. Okay, for this guy here, like I said, we just threw our rubber bands back on there, and here we go. Okay, and these don't actually, they're not exposed, so you don't have to worry about that. You'd hit the sliders well before you hit this up in here. And if you were worried about that, you could do a different way of mounting the battery to a slider there. You could even use this original battery box, which we almost did. It'll fit right there. Just kind of trim this nice and flat or Dremel it nice and flat and then put two new holes in. And this guy will actually, you'll be able to screw your screws straight through. Not these same holes, you'll have to put new holes in, but screw them straight through and you have your battery box on the side. We wanted to lighten it up more though, so we're doing that. Plus, sometimes we run other sized batteries. So if we decide to run a little guy, we'll be able to just kind of set it on there wherever, and we don't have to worry about it making sense with the box, right? So yeah, let me go ahead and get this other side done, and we'll move our ESC and stuff there, and we'll show you. Then we'll weigh it and show you the forward weight bias difference.
A few moments later.
Ta-da! Just like that. We didn't even have to use double-sided sticky tape. We just used what came with. We were able to peel it off pretty clean, and there you go. Stuck on there, we're good to go. Definitely more forward weight bias, definitely down lower, and we're even going to try to remove this tray back here. We should be okay. We'll see how stable we are after we remove this tray. There's only two screws in here, and it pulls this whole thing out, and if we're still fairly stable, then we'll be okay. We might need a brace across here. We do have some of these, well, not like this, but they look like this, right? Those little cross braces. Maybe we can throw that in there if it's not as stable. Down at the bottom, just to kind of brace up where our shocks are, because you definitely want that stable. But I definitely want to pull that out just to see. It should remove some weight, and again, get us more forward biased, and yeah. Maybe even give us clearance in the back if we were to put a link riser on the back here. We've got a 3Flow9 link riser, which we have a video talking about that stuff right over here. Some 3Flow9 accessories for this truck. Definitely check that video out. But if you get the high-rise link riser, you definitely will need space. So removing this would be necessary, or at least trimming it out a little bit. So we're going to remove it and we'll see.
More moments later.
All right, we got that tray removed, and it seems like we're still pretty rigid. Got just a little bit of flex, but I mean, you'd have to push it pretty hard. I'm squeezing pretty good. And if you are worried about it, you can always just keep a brace in there. But you will need to make room back here, like I said, if you have the high-rise link riser, or if you bring your shocks down too far and it really starts to compress, you'll start hitting on that tray. So we're able to remove that, and again, remove more weight. You kind of want to make your rigs as light as you can but having as much of that weight percentage as low as you can. So theoretically, if you could just remove all the weight up here and drop it all down onto the axles and have a 60-40 weight distribution, that would be ideal. You don't want a ton of weight. The rigs perform better with less weight up high, right? If we could get rid of all that weight up there, that would be good. But we need a body. We want it to look good still. So we're definitely digging this body. And so we're going to keep this guy going like so. But now we definitely have moved the weight forward and down. So you're not going to be able to see how we've lowered the weight. Unfortunately, we don't have a good way to show that, but we can definitely show you the forward weight bias and show you the difference there. So let me get the scales out and we will show you the before and after weight bias. Alrighty, here we go. We've got our battery in there, just like we would be running, just like the first time we weighed it. Let me just make sure we're all zeroed out. Okay, we're good to go there. And boom. 55 front, 45 back, and now we're 424. You can see here before we were 52.48 and like 431. So saving about 6 grams by getting rid of that battery tray, that rear tray, and moving everything forward much closer to that 60-40 weight bias. We are a little off on our left to right though. It looks like our right side is just a tad heavier because of the battery, but we will usually use probably a smaller battery when we're running anything serious. But even having that little bit 54, that little 2% off, not a big deal for trailing. But when we're comping, we're going to be doing a smaller battery anyway, so it'll definitely lighten that up. And worst case, you can try to move your battery inward a little more. We're kind of centered with how we did it. Probably you can always add a little weight to the outside. I wouldn't add any weight at all personally. I think we're good with this setup here. But yeah, smaller battery would probably be the most helpful. This battery is a little big for comping. This is definitely more of a trailing battery, not a comp battery. So if we started to run like the Evo Pro battery, we'll definitely have a much more balanced truck there. And here's that Evo Pro battery. It's a 360. Let's unplug this guy. Compared to 600, so it's definitely smaller and thinner. It's gonna be a lot better for our weight. I can throw this guy in there and show you the difference. Plug it in. That way our cables are kind of where they would naturally be sitting. And there you go. Now we're 50-50. So smaller battery definitely makes a huge difference. We're actually lighter on this side now, 206 versus what was over there before. We're at 207. So definitely helps. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. So like I said, I just wanted to show you that little quick mod. Very easy, very quick. Definitely helps with your weight distribution. And again, not only did we move weight forward, we lowered it, right? We lowered the weight. So that's a big help as well, getting your center of gravity down as low as you can. Anyway, check out those 3Flow9 parts I mentioned in the video before. They got link risers. They have diff collars here, roller bearing links in the front, cool stuff like that. Definitely worth checking out. And they've got more stuff coming. Also, get out there and build something cool. Mod your truck, make it run better, build a cool car, build a course, build a community, and then smash it, crash it, and bash it. But don't break the expensive parts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, all those awesome things. Peace.